With the Iamaleavas expected to UCLA, the quarterback exodus has begun with the transfer portal window closing in the spring.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. It's your team every day. Where we get started today, as expected, the endless amounts of quarterbacks in the UCLA system, in the UCLA room, their quarterback room, are now beginning to leave. Well, it started with Joey Aguilar, headed into the transfer portal, his second entry into the transfer portal in this offseason. So the former App State quarterback to the once expected UCLA starter went to Tennessee. Old news, right? Nico is coming in. He's expected to be QB1 at least for a year. Then they brought in Madden, and that made you wonder, what is the future of the UCLA QB room? One would expect that Madden would be the next quarterback, the heir apparent, if Nico is only here for a year or two. Then you bring in Madden as your next quarterback, if that's the job, right? So that leaves UCLA with a shortage of quarterbacks to finish spring practice. And from the reports at spring practice, this is what it looks like for UCLA. You've got the likes of Henry Hasselbeck. You've got Luke Duncan, Nick Billups, and Colton Gamino. Colton Gamino, one of the youngest of those. And the rest of those guys all battling out for extra reps and potentially a number 2 spot if Madden's not ready to play right away. Maybe Madden would redshirt as a freshman coming in. Even though he hit the portal, Madden Iamaleava would want to redshirt. Those guys are all battling for a number 2 spot and a chance to maybe break up the Iamaleava family reunion. Well, 2 guys who are expected to now leave the UCLA program. It is confirmed by now Deshaun Foster. It was the first report, I think, by Bro Report. Then on 3, confirmed McDaniel in the transfer portal. Robert McDaniel, who is the guy UCLA went out into the later stages of their signing day, got him to sign at UCLA, flip over to the Bruins, with Tino Sunseri saying, we needed some quarterback commits. The Bruins, before they had Joey Aguilar lined up, had a youngster coming in Robert McDaniel. Well, now that kid's into the portal, and he's going to find somewhere else to play football after being an early enrollee. You mix in Demaricus Davis, Marmar, who is now going to be looking at his third school, only 1 year of college football, which was a redshirt year. He didn't play. But Marmar, the once very highly coveted 4-star prospect in the class of 2024, he's a guy that could have very well challenged for the number 2 spot this year, could have broken up the Iamaleava family reunion, right, from the Nico to the Madden quarterback back-to-back saga. What Marmar Davis, what he's looking at is somebody who early enrolled at Washington when Kalen DeBoer was there. Then DeBoer left after the national championship game. That left Davis confused. So he went to the portal, withdrew from the transfer portal. Then in the spring window, after Jedd Fisch got there, went back in the portal, and all he did was go to UCLA, which we know that coaching situation was still figuring itself out with Deshaun Foster coming in after Chip Kelly. So I'm not sure if Davis got the fairest of shakes, but reading a Ben Bolsch report about what Deshaun Foster had to say in the media was that McDaniel, is in the portal. Davis, the other youngster who was a one-time, depending on where you rank him, 4-star QB, one of the top 3 quarterbacks, I think, in California in the class of 2024, Washington, UCLA, all wanting him, amongst others, he could return and challenge for that 2 spot. Now it's going to come up to a strong, persuasive arguments from the quarterbacks coach and Tino, from Deshaun Foster, saying there's no guarantee Madden wins the job, and that's in a year from now, which is probably when Davis would be challenging for a starting job. If we expect Nico to only be here for a year, that's when Davis would be like, hey, maybe I might go somewhere else where I don't have to sit for another 2 years or a year or 3 before he can challenge for a starting spot, let alone the backup spot. All right. So those are 2 quarterbacks mixed in with Joey Aguilar, 3 of which are all in the portal, leaving UCLA 7 down to 4, one of which Deshaun Foster said, and Davis could come back. Another addition in that quarterback room, Carson Gordon, listed as an athlete, wide receiver, quarterback. We'll see if he makes his name in the quarterback room or as a receiver. Gordon is out for the year, tore his ACL in track, and is done. That's what I saw Ben Bulge post about what Deshaun Foster said at the practice. So that leaves UCLA with 4 quarterbacks unavailable, between 3 into the portal, Aguilar already at Tennessee, 2 of which in the portal, 1 might come back. Gordon, who's more of an athlete quarterback, we'll see if he goes, is hurt. And that doesn't even include Justin Martin, who entered the transfer portal way early on in the offseason, when he was the quarterback with the most snaps in the room after Ethan Garbers graduated, or after he ran out of eligibility, I should say, officially at this moment. That's what UCLA is stuck with. Now, obviously, we're not worried about that. Nico's coming in. Madden is unique. But we're starting to see now that the transfer portal window is closed, the Bruins have had some big swings in the portal at the running back position, at the quarterback position, ×2. They've gone after some of the biggest names in the receiving room, and they got a couple of guys. Pena would have been a nice guy from Syracuse to get, ended up going to Penn State. So the Bruins are mostly set. A lot of DBs coming in, which leaves the Bruins, okay, finally saw that QB exodus that we were expecting. But just because they put their name in the portal doesn't mean they have to withdraw by the end of the window. They can choose whether to return, go somewhere else, maybe, I don't know, find some other thing to do. They're in the portal, whoever it is. UCLA finally saying, all right, this is what's going on. Now, if you want to flip to the NFL draft, which is semi-interesting at this moment, as of this recording, as we head into the middle of day 3 of the NFL draft, we finally got some Bruins drafted, right? You have Carson Schwesinger, an early second-round draftee, going to the Cleveland Browns. And then you got Femi Oladejo, an early 52nd rounder. So nice to see both those guys getting off the board early in the second round, as expected. And when I was looking at the mock drafts, Schwesinger was either late first round in the 50s. So early 30s when it comes to overall pick is a good spot for a guy who went from a walk-on position to a borderline first-round, second-rounder. All right? Hopefully that's a good fit. I hope he loves the dog pound in Cleveland and he can help revitalize their system. Now you mix in Femi Oladejo, who is turning himself into another, from a linebacker more to an edge, and looking to make that transition complete into the NFL, where hopefully his career blossoms. I'm expecting Cam Adrano at some point to find a home, whether it's drafted, undrafted. When I've recorded, he does not have a draft spot at this moment, but he is somebody that is almost forgotten about when you see Oladejo rising in the Senior Bowl ranks, when you've seen Schwesinger rise through the ranks immediately from his senior campaign to All-American to leading the Big Ten in tackles. Schwesinger rose meteorically. Now, what I hope Medrano gets is a good fit, a good opportunity, and he can get a good NFL contract. It might not be as juicy on that rookie deal, even if it's in the later rounds, but he's going to have to earn that big-time contract. And I think Medrano will be a late-round steal for somebody looking for a home. All right? So I hope that's how it works out. If you want some basketball news on this, Saturday, sit down with you guys on Locked On UCLA. John Rothstein, I'll get more in depth with this on the next Locked On UCLA episode when it comes to Mick Cronin and UCLA's scheduling on the men's basketball side. But it looks like UCLA has their second power conference opponent, but third major opponent if you include Arizona, Gonzaga, and Cal. John Rothstein reported that UCLA is looking at playing Cal at the Chase Center, so going to play at the home of the Warriors, another NBA arena, which would be the second or third big-time professional arena that UCLA will be in. They will play in the Intuit Dome, as John Rothstein said, in early November against Arizona, I believe. They'll be playing Cal at some point in the Chase Center, and then they'll go play Gonzaga, as expected in this next season, based on the agreement signed by the schools in the last year, in Climate Pledge Arena, which is not an NBA arena yet, but where the Kraken play. So 3 big-time arenas, and UCLA's got Cal, Arizona, and Gonzaga all lined up next season in the non-conference. Unfortunately, none of those are at home, which I've talked about in the last offseason, how that sucks in college basketball, but that's just where we're at right now. So John Rothstein with that report about UCLA revitalizing the Cal rivalry of sorts in an NBA arena, and I hope they continue to play these games against the Pac-10, Pac-8, Pac-12 schools over and over, and it limits the non-conference travel where the Bruins are saving the budget, saving their legs for Big Ten schedule. That's going to see them fly all over the country again and again and again. All right, but that's going to do it for us here on Locked On UCLA. Let's tell you more about a great deal with FanDuel. What do I mean? Let's take a look. Well, the NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel, place your first $5 bet, and you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So FanDuel makes betting incredibly easy, whether you're picking your favorite team or diving into the player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has many ways to bet your favorite player props, and even after the game tips off. Combine your live prop bets into a same-game parlay, and don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com right now and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Well, that's the latest for UCLA football and the transfer portal. A lot of late entries into the final day, final hours, waning moments of the spring window. UCLA made a lot of noise. We'll talk about that in the next episode. We'll talk a lot about UCLA's basketball schedule. It's not official, but what do I think? Are there any holiday tournaments between the Christmas time, between Thanksgiving tournaments, or is UCLA just done with those? All things to look forward to with anything happening with UCLA. And hey, maybe John Neepkins will choose the UCLA women's basketball team instead of South Carolina, Texas, or Oklahoma. All breaking news. We'll talk about it on the next Locked On UCLA episodes. Till then, hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.